Tom Curran on the Harbor One Hotline. Good afternoon, Tom. How are you?
Hello, Andrew.
I want to know from you.
You're always caught unawares at the beginning of this.
It's like he doesn't know you're on.
No, I do.
Like he doesn't know. He's not expecting you.
No, I'm trying to figure out which question I want to lead with because I know there's a story about Mayo and the coordinators, and he's not at the Senior Bowl and all that stuff. Tommy, I'm curious from your end. There was the dude in Atlanta who said no to the special teams job. Zach Robinson said no to the OC job. Have we now come crashing to earth that not only is this not a great job right now, but that you have to talk people into taking it? I'm just curious from your end, Tom, how you sort of view some of the people out there saying no to the Patriots at this point.
I think each one is going to have, obviously, their own individual dynamics involved. For instance, the special teams coach who remained with the Falcons, which certainly he's a guy of 4 kids, I think Marquise Williams. So staying in place, someone made sense for him. But I do think, certainly, if you're looking at the Patriots' job, you're looking at the structure and trying to make heads or tails of, okay, what am I in charge of? What's our plan? Where's final say? There's a lot of things that would give an individual pause, I think, if they're looking at the landscape of what they're going into. For instance, offensively, you could look at it as a great opportunity. We have a 3rd overall pick. We have a blank slate on offense. We have money to spend on offense. We have a low bar set by the 2022 and 2023 teams. I can let my vision take root. But on the other hand, too, there is uncertainty that enters into this. So it, to me, depends upon the individual, and that's why I think it's very individually based as to, do you want to do that, or do you want to go someplace less risk, higher safety?
So I'll actually use yours because you have a Twitter poll out right now at Tom Curran, and the question revolves around the offensive coordinator search and how slowly it's going, and how you and you're asking everybody to, how are you feeling about the pace and the direction? And you got 3 options: it's fine, no sweat; it's getting urgent; and what the hell is going on? So which one did you answer? Which one was yours?
Currently, up to the minute poll results, 42.4% are answering, what the hell's going on? 34.2 are, it's fine and no sweat, and 23.4, it's getting urgent. I think it's 23. I'm going to join that 23.4% and say it's getting urgent. Senior Bowl's this weekend. Combine is next month. Free agency is in 46 days, and the draft is in 86 days. So you need to have in place your plan and how you're going to staff these positions. You have to figure out which, assistant coaches who are under contract you're going to keep aboard. Adrian Clem and Billy Yates, they might be the most important assistant coaches on this team in 2023 if they both return as offensive line coaches, because you have an entirely new offensive line that you potentially may have to staff, or you have developing players who you have to, like Mafi and City So, who you have to develop. So all of these things need to hit the ground running with visions and plans for the season. I'm sure they're not just sitting down there, putting into one of those little office things. But
little glass.
They do
little glass, little clear
right.
glass on the floor. Oh, my turn.
So, I think that clarity on what you're going to do, as opposed to the feeling that, it's worth saying, okay, you extracted Bill, a plan needs to be in place, as opposed to, okay, now what?
Is there any chance that they look around on offense and are like, man, it just isn't lining up? Is McDaniels in this at all, Tom?
I would say that certainly a conversation should be had with McDaniels as to whether, as he has this year where he is in limbo on the Raiders contract still, would you consider coming back here in any role or capacity whatsoever? And I think that Josh would say, okay, well, what would my role be? Would I be an offensive analyst? Would I be your offensive coordinator? Would I be a quarterback consultant? What would you like from me? Because I think from Josh's perspective, too, if you bring him back, he has to understand specifically what his role is. Is he supposed to help Jerod and explain to him, here's some of these pitfalls that you want to avoid? And would Jerod want that? Or would Jerod say, I kind of want to chart my own course? What's their relationship like? So I think any way that Josh McDaniels returns would require a conversation that really spotlights, this is what we envision for you. Would you like to do that? Because when you look at the staff, Gresh, it's very new. Say Nick Caley becomes the offensive coordinator. Well, he's been a tight ends coach. Has he ever directly worked with quarterbacks? Does Evan Rothstein, for instance, stay with the team? He's been kind of the quarterback's coach. Does he remain in that capacity? Or does he have enough experience to deal with, a top 3 pick who's going to have extreme expectations on him for quick development? I think all of those things, to me, hint that you probably should have somebody who understands the pitfalls, but is Josh the right person?
I'm curious, though, when you have a guy like Josh McDaniels, who was like the original chosen one, you feel like after turning down that job in Indianapolis and staying, I wonder if Mayo sees him or would see him as a threat if he's in the building.
Sure, and I think that, Josh would have liked to have stayed here in 2021. There was, a curiosity on his part as to whether or not the Patriots would do anything to make sure that he stuck around for the latter portion of Bill's tenure here, and whether he would be the person who succeeded Bill. Patriots didn't do that. Patriots let Josh go to Las Vegas. They instead opted for Jerod. So are there hard feelings? Is there a snubbing? Is there a feeling of, well, see, maybe you should have kept me around, and now you want me to come back in? So I don't know that to be the case, but that's a dynamic that's worth exploring too. I mean, he wondered, will the Patriots do anything to ensure my staying here, or am I just going to go to Vegas? And he was happy to go to Vegas. It didn't work out, but it worked out financially. But, that's certainly a dynamic to consider as well.
Tommy Curran of NBC Sports Boston Aggression for you is with us each and every Tuesday at noon. I know that we talked last week about with some of Mayo's comments, he's sort of leading us to think quarterback at number 3. There are people who have said no. There have been a lot of people in and out of the building. And Tom, I don't think I've even asked you this question yet. Do you, or have you been able to nail down what they're looking for in specific in an offensive coordinator? Is it a quarterback guy? Is it a scheme guy? Do they even know exactly sort of what characteristics they want in the guy in the next job?
I'm sure that they do. I think right now, as it stands noontime on Tuesday, it feels like Nick Caley is the leading candidate. So what does Nick Caley bring to the table? We've known that he's a tight ends coach. I spoke in 2021 to Julian Edelman when we were out at the Super Bowl, and I said, what do you think of Nick Caley? And this is when the Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, and there was indecisiveness as to who would be the coordinator. And Edelman said he'd be great. He'd be an excellent coordinator. I don't know what that's necessarily based on, but I would trust that Edelman would have a feel for it. But what is his vision for a quarterback? What is his vision for an offense? He went to the Rams. Does he come back with any kind of a Rams-flavored offensive vision, or is it the same vision that he kind of incorporated when he was here in New England? So I don't know what Caley would bring necessarily. I do think the Patriots want to make it, and they tried with Bill and Patricia and Judge, they tried to alter the offense to make it more simple. Tried to alter the running game. They tried to implement some of the wide zone concepts in the running game. Will they try and do that again? Do they have the personnel to do that again? So all of that stuff, again, and that's why I put that poll out, to me, they're not going to lay it all out on the table and say, this is what we're going to be doing on 3rd and 5s, and this is how we're going to set up in formation, and this is going to be our personnel. But you have to have kind of a working mindset, which I don't know if we're going to see unveiled until we start seeing the personnel they bring in.
So, Tom, I'm curious your thoughts on like the recent information leaked from multiple sources, I guess you could call it, regarding Mac Jones and how he, talked to a couple personnel people with the Jets and Zach Wilson, and the lack of communication that happened at the end of the season towards him. I'm curious, the more that comes out, the more you realize how bad the situation was. But it seems, I don't know, I guess it feels like it's like somebody's been doing this on purpose to save Mac Jones's career. I'm curious your thoughts.
I had a 45-minute conversation with Joe Dickinson, who's been Mac's quarterback's coach since he was 11. And that's on the Patriots Talk podcast. I'm going to have a little bit of it on Quick Slants tonight. Yeah, I think it's a concerted effort to say, hey, here's Mac's side of things. And I specifically asked Joe, where did it go sideways? Because, he's involved with Mac. What happened? And, it's a long conversation. I recommend, giving it a listen. You guys could sample it a little bit. But it basically came down to, the lack of direction in 2022 and then the fraying of the relationship. So as I said to Joe, in the end, this wasn't about X's and O's and arm strength and reading defenses and getting your eyes in the right place. It ended up being more about relationships and the development of a player. And Mac feeling as if he wasn't being developed and feeling as if he wasn't getting the coaching that he needed, and then looking elsewhere, and that being, in Belichick's mind, a betrayal. And certainly the on-field histrionics that he engaged in was specifically showing up, Bill. So in the end, you could have gone either way with that. You could have said, well, the kid's obviously frustrated. He's being a little bit of a baby, but it's in everyone's best interest to try and move forward. Or you say, F that guy, I'm going to do everything I can to make life difficult for him. And it seemed like the latter was chosen. So Mac Jones was definitely taught a lesson.
Tommy, Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. Your thoughts on some of the narrative, quote unquote, out there?
I think, boy, if he gets this next Super Bowl, he's definitely, I would say, virtually equaled the first 10 years of Tom's career. He's got another decade to go. I mean, that's the reality of it. The reality is,
I'm so with you. The way the guy played at 45 is being forgotten now, Tommy. Isn't it crazy how quickly we forget how great Tom Brady was in his 30s and 40s? It's insane.
It is because, and there's so much discrediting of Brady's performance in 01, 03, and 04. And it's always defense-based. It was Corey Dillon. It was, everybody but Tom Brady. And you can make that claim about the 2001 team to a large extent, but you also have to remember there were games there in 2001, 2003, 2004, where he had the team on his back and delivered in the biggest moments, the way Mahomes does. And when you give him in 2007, and I know the game's changed, but in 2007, they actually gave him toys, and he goes out and sets the friggin' record for touchdown passes, and the team goes undefeated in the regular season and scores 75 touchdowns. So it was the greatest offense in NFL history at that juncture. And he did all that in the first 10 years. So Mahomes is unbelievable, and he is close to equaling, he's halfway to Tom Brady, in other words.
I like it. That is the right kind of analysis for
I'm going to
it.
go vote on your real quick. I'm going to go vote.
You're going to go vote on Tom's poll, are you?
Yes, I'm going to go vote on his poll.
All right, then.
It's a little poll, though,
What the
so
hell's
it's easy.
going on is already up. What the hell's going on is up to 46%.
Tommy, thank you, buddy. We appreciate it. We'll catch you soon. Thank you.
All right, guys. Take
Thanks,
care.
buddy.
There we go. Man. I know I've been hard on Mayo and this whole OC search thing, but they have another problem that they've created because this thing is taking forever. We always hear about how coaches want to get in the door as early as possible, right? Because they go hire their assistants. We can't even figure out who's running the effing offense. And you mean to tell me that Ham Hands Harry could be named the OC on Friday, and he's going to be able to turn around and find an offensive line coach, a wide receiver coach, a quarterback coach, without it being some of the people that are here? We're running up against the clock to where you're either going to get an offensive coordinator who's going to go pluck the assistant offensive line coach or the Billy Yates of other organizations, or you have to sell an offensive coordinator on, well, you're going to have Troy Brown and Adrian Clem and so. That all doesn't correlate and add up.
No, it doesn't work at all. And the other thing that stood out to me was a little nugget on Josh McDaniels. Like, it's almost like now you know why he's not even, not that he's not being considered. He may just be like, you know.
It might be a him thing, not a them
thing.
We'll continue with this. 617-779-7993.